Have you had your vitamin P today? P as in pleasure.
Huh.
Because pleasure is essential to life.
It is.
Mhm. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Having a little bit of pleasure in your life every day. We are the sexagenarian sages.
And we are here to bust the myths of sex and aging.
And you like to talk with your hands, so you
I
don't
do.
have to put your arm back
La,
around it.
la, la, la. Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. That's our vitamin P. Life looks for pleasure. It's interesting that even at birth, young animals and young humans, they all understand pain, which they recoil from, and pleasure, which they will move toward. It's automatic. Life looks for pleasure. It's what keeps life sustained. Life naturally looks for that which enhances it, which is pleasure.
Wasn't there an ancient philosopher who his whole teachings were centered around pleasure?
Epicurus.
Epicurus.
Many, many years ago, the ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus talked about this. He identified two different kinds of pleasure. One was what he called static pleasure, and one was kinetic pleasure. Now, maybe to help you understand what those two things mean better, I'll give them a bit of a new definition. Static pleasure were those pleasures that were everyday, common pleasures. Kinetic pleasures were the biggies, big events, feasts, festivals.
Weddings.
Yes, the things that would bring great pleasure. One wasn't better than the other. They were just different. And they were both important to providing pleasure in life.
Some little everyday pleasures. My first one that comes to mind, of course, is a piece of chocolate.
Yes.
Enjoying the touch of, I had my satin robe on earlier and was doing some embroidery, both of which are pleasurable for me.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just a couple of examples of little everyday pleasures.
We have up here one of these diffusers that puts scent into the air, also providing some pleasure. We cooked dinner just a little while ago. There was the wonderful scent that came with that.
The taste of the pesto sauce.
The taste. There are all around you things that bring pleasure to life. But we get so caught up in our tasks, in our patterns, in our filters about how we interpret the world around us, that we forget and we miss, we lose the awareness and the attention of pleasure that can be found all around us all the time.
And then we kind of get irritable and grumpy. And I'm thinking of particularly a task that you need to do that you don't particularly like.
Grocery shopping.
Doing dishes. I don't like doing dishes. How can I make that more pleasurable?
Going to work. But what can you do? What can you do to make those things more pleasurable?
But one of the things I do is I put some music on. And I might dance around the kitchen a little bit, depends on my mood. Or I may just listen to the music. That's one of the things that I do.
It can be even little small things like the sensation of fabric on your skin, the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of the birds as the sun comes up in the early morning. Maybe it's that face of a very young child, an infant with their big eyes and a big smile. That may be what gives you that moment of pleasure. You can find them all around you.
And you know what's kind of striking me? They are all around us. It's really acknowledging and taking the time to appreciate those pleasures. They're already there. We don't need to make them happen. We just need to be aware of them.
And that also means being aware of when you're not being aware, when you're getting so caught up in your pattern, getting so caught up in your filters, in the tasks at hand, and not taking that moment to be aware of what's available around you for pleasure. Now, I'm going to give you what we like to call home play.
Actually, before you do that, you had a story you shared with me earlier. Do you still wish to share that?
It's true. One of my mentors tells this story. It's the story of the man on the beach. He was an older man and a fisherman. He had spent much of his life on the beach, in boats, in ships. And my mentor was on the beach looking at sand in his hands, just looking at it, exploring it, seeing the various things in it. And this fisherman nearby saw this and said something to the effect of, harumph, it's just sand. What are you looking for? And my mentor brought the sand over to this fisherman and pointed out to him the textures, the colors, all the different elements of this little palm full of sand, and how it could bring joy or pleasure just to see all those colors and those shapes. And the fisherman looked at it, and then looked up at my mentor with a tear in his eye and said, I never took the time. I am 75 years old, nearing my final days, and I never have taken the time to look at something as simple as every day and see the beauty in it. I have wasted so much of my life not seeing the pleasure and the beauty around me. Don't be like that man on the beach who, in his way old age, was just beginning to see the world around him. Start now. Start looking for those bits of pleasure that you can find in your life. Become aware of them.
Get your vitamin P.
Get your vitamin P every single day. And you can do that with some home play.
What's the home play?
Well, I have several things here to suggest to you. First, sitting quiet. Find yourself a quiet place. Sit there and listen and feel and smell. Take the time to be in a quiet place. Watch, observe. One of the things I have enjoyed doing in my life is people watching. Sitting on a park bench and just watching people, watching the animals, watching the weather, observing what's going around.
And I'd like to make a point here. It's observing, just taking in what's there. It's not trying to make meaning from it. It's not being judgmental of it. It's just enjoying what's in front of you.
Yeah. It's not right, it's not wrong, It's just what is there. Take a moment to do what we call a body scan. A few moments to just very slowly move your attention down through your body. Your forehead, the top of your head, your eyes, your throat, looking for places where there is pleasure. Find those spots. Stop, feel them, experience them. Bring that pleasure up in your body. Eat slow. Pay attention to what you're eating.
Savor the flavor.
Here's one of my favorites. It's called Tasting the Air. Whether you're indoors or outdoors, you can actually taste the air. You just kind of let the air flow over your tongue, breathing in. And the sense of taste and the sense of smell are very closely connected in the brain. Taste that air. See what you can detect on it, what you can feel. Finally, and this is an important thing to do, ask yourself, what can I do in this moment to make this moment more pleasurable?
Even more pleasurable. Sounds like good, solid home play.
Work on getting your vitamin P every single day.
Okay.
Do you have something more you want to say on it?
No, I don't think so. I think you did a pretty thorough job. We will, of course, remind you to comment. We'd like to know what you think about this video. If you've got questions, send us the questions. And you need to say this.
Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button.
You like to say that, so I let you say it. I wouldn't want to take your thunder away. And thank you for joining us and thank you for watching. And don't forget to tune in again next week.
Yep.
So
Bye.
bye.